Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California, and in parallel from the Turf's Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone Show this evening.
Well, hello again, and welcome to the Water Zone Show. I'm Rob Starr, along with Ms. Tara Mullally. I guess we had a miscue and put the bumper music on instead of the intro music, but that's okay. You still got the right, you tuned into the right station, and we got all the good stuff for you. And so, Tara, how are you doing today?
Amazing. I am really looking forward to a 3-day weekend celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. But I had a really great week, and so I'm super excited about today's show. It sounds really interesting.
Good. And we have the most wonderful lady I know in podcasts, and what she does, Miss Chris Austin.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Everybody's doing fine. How's the weather by you? You went to Reno. You went to Reno, didn't you?
Oh, that was last week. No, I'm here now in Chico, and we have beautiful blue sky, nice mild weather. The storminess has passed, and so now we're having this nice warm day, and it's a nice warm day up in the mountains, too, which all does not bode well for the snowpack at this time. The scientists have a name for this kind of thing. They call it a snow eater heat wave. So it's not really a heat wave. We're not hot, but it's warmer than it should be up in the mountains, and that's causing the snowpack to melt. So we're sort of in this mode where if it isn't precipitating, it's melting. So we'll see how it goes. The snowpack is not doing great. It's not terrible. It's been worse, but it's not much better than the worst scenario.
Well, speaking of being worse, I've been reading in one of your blogs here that the scientists are warning that the California Delta waters are in poor ecological health.
Yeah, there's really nothing new in this story. It's the same thing that's been going on for quite some time. There's an outfit in the Bay Area that they have been doing a report every 5 years. In I would say the past 10, 20 years, the new way to go about restoration in a lot of government projects, to be honest, is to have what they call measurable objectives. They went and and a measurable objective would be what you're trying to hit with your whatever interventions you're doing, restoring habitat, reducing pollution, whatever it is. So they have a very extensive list of these measurable objectives that cover not just water quality and water flow and things, but also species, birds and fish and kind of looking at the population of fish and species in the bay and all these different parameters. So, while there have been some wins for the Delta and the Bay Area that this report can point to, the flows are still low, and the Delta still suffers from, lack of flows.
Oh, they don't have
nothing new there.
They don't have the fresh water. You got a giant state with federal pumps and other things that are taking water out. So yeah, I guess it's hurting that.
Well, and it's not just the pumps. I mean, it's really everybody everybody takes the water out. Actually, when you look at the numbers, the amount of water that is exported from the Delta for the State Water Project and the Central Valley Project is only, I believe, like 5 to 6% of the water that flows through the Delta. That amount is not an incredible amount, but the impact of the pumps is that they're in the south of the delta and they tend to suck all the water towards them. But the delta is fed by the Sacramento River and the San Joaquin River, and along those two rivers, a lot of water is withdrawn for agriculture, and also for some municipal use for the cities, that are along those rivers. So everybody, has a hand in, not, I will say everybody, but, well, pretty much everybody in Northern California that's getting imported water is getting it from the Delta in some way. And like San Francisco, they have their water system, which is the Hetch Hetchy system, but they're taking the water before it gets into the Delta. Absent that water system, that water would flow into the Delta. So even though they're not taking it from the Delta, they still are impacting the Delta by that water withdrawal. So everybody, is taking water from the Delta.
So one quick question: so that's that whole the pumps pulling all the water towards it? That's the entire point of the Delta Conveyance Project, right? Is to move those pumps above the Delta so it stops kind of pulling that towards it? Or how does the Delta Health impact the Delta Conveyance Project? Because I feel like a lot of people would have that question in their minds.
Well, that's actually not entirely correct. It's not the pumps that are going to be moved to the north. The pumps are going to stay in the south, and what they're going to do is pick up the water in the north of the Delta before it flows into the Delta and send it down through this tunnel to the pumps in the South Delta. When they first started this tunnel project, which really predates Governor Newsom and really predates Governor Brown, goes all the way back to the Schwarzenegger administration. But in the beginning, those first iterations of the project really saw that they were going to be taking quite a bit, maybe 50% or more they would be diverting from those northern intakes. But as time has gone on and the policy discussions have evolved, that's sort of turned down now to where the Department of Water Resources is saying that they're only going to turn on those northern intakes and take the water if there is a large flow in the river from a precipitation event. So they're only going to use it in times where there's high precipitation runoff. Now, this then brings about the point that the Delta people and the Delta advocates make, which is if you're going to spend $20 billion to build this tunnel, and you are telling me that you're only going to use it a fraction of the time, they don't believe that. Quite honestly, they say if you're going to build that big old thing, then you're going to use that big old thing. But that's not. But right now, DWR's stance is we will only take water from the North Delta during periods of high flow. And that could be as little as 20% of the time. And maybe in some years, that could be nothing, not at all, if the flows are really low that year. So now that's what DWR says. The Delta people are very skeptical about promises that the government has made to them because over the decades, there's always been this intense pressure in the Delta, really since California became a state, and they've heard many, many promises and many people that have said that they were going to try to help, and they have seen promises broken, things not happen that were supposed to. So they're very skeptical, and they have that history, that drives that line of thinking.
Wow, lots of discussion on that. I also read of interest this morning that you put in that which I really like this project, which is the Sykes Reservoir, the proposed one, and I've been involved in knowing about it since it started, and I'm very excited about it. But now we got a snag between a construction union.
Yeah, well, they want to hire a construction company based in Montana, and this particular construction company doesn't exclusively employ union workers, and they also say it doesn't have the experience or expertise or staffing to handle this project. The sites people say we've vetted this, and and this is all they're a fine contractor to do this, but I think basically the in this instance the people complaining here would like to see California workers, California contractors get the job and get the work. I think that's what they're objecting to.
Well, I guess it's the money as well. If they're going to Bernard, but how are they going to argue that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say on that. Sure, we want to hire local, and we want California firms to benefit, and I mean all this is I don't get too twisted up about this kind of thing, and I'm sure that it will get worked out. But yeah,
I just hope it doesn't put some more delays in the project because they're trying and trying.
The big delay is really not this as much as it is the process that's going on at the State Water Board.
Yeah,
they're waiting for the water rights. There's that decision is expected to come down fairly soon, I believe. And it's really the last big hurdle that sites need to get over before they're ready to go to construction. So we'll see how this all goes. I mean, the state water board has been under a tremendous amount of pressure with Sites Reservoir, the Delta Conveyance Project hearings, and the Bay Delta Plan. That they're trying to get updated. So we'll see how this all plays out. I think this is the least controversial issue that they're working on. So, but we'll see how this decision plays out.
I hope so, because I think Sykes is a great plan, always have, and I personally, I mean, I'm not a California guy anymore, but I'd still like to see that happen. I think they desperately need it, and it's a good plan, good design. So hope that happens.
And they have people lined up that are willing to pay for it that aren't taxpayers. Yeah. I mean, so and the people that live in that valley where they want to build it are fine with it. They're not displacing. I think maybe 50 people live in that valley that won't live there anymore. So I mean, it's not displacing a lot of people. It's the kind of project that climate scientists say we need to have. So we'll see. I mean, they are coming around the final loop here. The end is near. So
yeah. Well, another one of my that's why I love reading your stuff, because I'm interested in everything that you write. But there's a story about a company that we've had on. Actually, we had Tim Quinn, who I know all two of you know, and he works for this company, and it's called Ocean Well, and they're planned water farm. So they're going to go. Freshwater production is moving deep into the sea, miles below. I think that's an awesome thing. They got a really hot technology that everybody's looking at now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this works. They have a prototype, I think, in their reservoir right now at Las Virgenes, but this really has some exciting possibilities to, I mean, it's a much easier way to desalinate, less impactful, less, briny discharge.
Less power.
Yeah. It is kind of a very exciting thing, and we'll see how it works. There's a lot of exciting desalination technologies out there. The biggest problem comes, how do you scale them up into, something that's big enough to make a difference? So this will be interesting. This, I think, is one of the first ones that's coming to fruition. So
I think it's a really. Go ahead. Tara,
I was just going to say, shout out to Dave Peterson and his team for being so innovative at Los Virginis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they were really looking for some, new ways to bring in water, being as they really got hammered in that last drought because, they just happened to be in a part of metropolitan system where they couldn't get anything but state water project water, and the state water project didn't have any water that during that period of time, or very little water. So they really had some draconian measures going on out there, because there just was this total lack of water. Now, Metropolitan has been doing some building, and they are rectifying their system to make sure that they don't end up in that position again. But Las Virgenes, probably rightly, kind of decided to pursue some things on their own, so they will be less beholden to, those types of issues. So really exciting to see what happens with this. What's interesting, too, is Mark Gold, who used to direct Heal the Bay, an environmentalist, and he now sits on Metropolitan's board, although that you should not take that to mean he has turned against his environmental roots, because he hasn't. But he's actually has spoken, in favor of this, or I shouldn't say his comment was in favor, but he didn't say it was a terrible idea. He said he was looking forward to seeing how it worked, or something along those lines. So he hasn't panned it yet. So
to me, as an engineer,
so that's good.
To me, as an engineer, it's exciting to think about how smart these guys would think outside the box. How do we pump water up? Why can't we use the pressure within the ocean to help do that? And we can use less electricity and take care of this with less brine. I mean, that's incredible. And I think the next thing I know they're thinking about is what do they do with the brine? And we've had people on. We're going to have some more people on from ConocoPhillips and some other oil-based companies who are doing fracking and things, and talking about mining the brine for magnesium and other rare earth materials and stuff. So it's pretty interesting of this, and I hope they succeed with this, because this is totally different than any system that's on the market today. So.
Well, also, I should point out, though, that in this underwater system, they will be just releasing the brine out there, but it's much less concentrated.
Yes.
So there won't be a brine disposal problem. But that is an issue for, about every other desalination plant. It's a huge issue for inland desalination, for people that clean up brackish desalination plants. It's very hard to figure out what to do with that salty brine that's left over. And if you don't have an ocean or a saltwater body to dump it into, disposal is very tricky.
Yep.
So one thing I actually came around my family's table is data centers, and this is so funny that it's actually in your digest this week. Data centers are not just a growing concern in California, but also in my household. We're concerned about water use. It's a whole thing, and we have to have a whole discussion. So what are your thoughts, Chris?
Oh, this is interesting, because up in Reno, data centers are a big deal there too. And my parents live up in Reno, and Reno is not gifted with voluminous amounts of water. They have a river that flows through, and they use a lot of groundwater, but they don't come with a lot. But yes, they have data centers popping up all over the place. It's hard for me to comment on this, because I just not sure where it's going. We have all these data centers being built in Arizona, but we also have what's going on the Colorado River, which is really heated up, by the way. Last week, the Bureau of Reclamation put out its 5 options there's really only 4 options for how they're going to manage the river going forward. And California and Arizona are looking like they're going to take the hit. None of the options that the Bureau of Reclamation presented really had the upper basin pitching in a whole lot, on any instance. So this is really bad news for the lower basin. And really, Nevada has such a small share. If they took nothing from the Colorado River, it wouldn't make a difference in the least. But so it really boils down to, California and Arizona. And, Arizona needs that water very much. And plus, Arizona has a lot of Indian water rights that have been, settled and adjudicated. And Indian water rights are the most senior of all. Federal Reserve, they cut straight to the front of the line.
They were here first.
How they, and this is all factoring into these discussions. How much can you cut Arizona when I think a third of the CAP goes to satisfy tribal water rights. So it's a really thick situation. I have no idea how it's going to go, but it's going to be painful. So we have, all these data centers popping up in places where, there's not a lot of water. I would hope air-cooled technologies will come forward or something. But, then there's that other paradox, though. So you have me going now. It's usually the solutions that reduce water use require more electricity. Sort of like, your dishwasher and your washing machine, they use less water now, but they take much longer to do it now, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And that is the other part of it. Yes, you can reduce your water use, but then it means even more electricity. So, which then, means more water use. So it's all just a big mess.
You're exactly right. We had that discussion the other night, my wife and I. We bought a new washer and dryer. And so I called Arizona Power Utilities. That's where we get the electric from. And we decided to get an electric one because when I went looking for them, we had gas from California. And they have gas here too, but I didn't realize most of the houses here are built with electric. And then maybe they'll put gas in it, like the Ranger stuff. So we got that, and it took forever to dry the clothes. A brand new dryer, right? And when I called APS to find out about rebates, we don't have those like in California for washers and dryers for electric and for Energy Star. They said if you have a thermostat in your house, we'll give you credit for that. But if you have a washer and dryer, we don't do that anymore. So I was kind of surprised at that. I was looking for the $100 rebate for each machine, but that's not going to happen, or it won't happen. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're heading up to our commercial break. Chris, it was awesome. You bring the news to us faster than anybody. I think we should put together a contract between you and the local newspapers that you should feed them the data, and you should get the credit. They'll save all the money on all those other reporters that aren't reporting what you are.
Oh no! My biggest product is gathering together all of the articles those journalists write.
Yeah,
so I can't do what they do because I'm promoting what they do. So.
No. Well, you're doing a great job. So we appreciate that very much. So we will talk to you next week. You have a great weekend and a safe one. And again, holidays are over, but happy holidays to you as well.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back with our featured guest. So stick around. It's going to be a great conversation with this nice lady. She's coming up. Her name is Shilpa Alva, and she has a great story of what she does and what her organization does, and it's awesome what she's doing. So you're here in a few minutes, so stick around. We'll be right back.
KCAA. Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
Take control of your business anywhere, anytime with the SiteOne mobile app. Designed for contractors on the go, the app keeps you connected to your account wherever the job takes you. When you're signed in, you get full visibility into your personal account without needing a computer. Check your contractor-specific pricing, see real-time inventory, create custom lists, and reorder from your product history or saved lists in just a few taps. Scanning QR codes makes managing products even easier. You can quickly add items to a list, view product details, or add them to your cart in an instant. Need to approve a quote or pay a bill? You can do it right from your phone. Track your orders, view invoices, even redeem your partner's program points for rewards that give back to your business. Plan smarter with built-in project calculators that save time and help you quote with confidence. Logging in is quick and secure. Use Face ID or Touch ID for instant access. Customize your experience by choosing your preferred language in English or Spanish. Looking to level up your knowledge? Browse, learn, and explore videos and articles, or find local events to stay connected with your SiteOne community. The SiteOne mobile app puts the power of your business in your pocket.
KCAA.
Welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone Show. Hopefully you're still tuned in and having a good time. We have a fantastic guest that I ran into and communicated with her on email and some of her staff, and I'm very excited. I have to ask her. The other day I sent her an email, and she came back. I said I was going to call her in the morning, and she says, well, she's not going to be there in the morning because she was in Dubai. So I don't know where she is at the moment, but she did call in, and I'm happy. So this lady's name is Shilpa Alva, and she is the head of an organization she started called Surge for the Water. And Surge for Water invests in communities by providing safe water plus sanitation, hygiene, menstrual health solutions to help break the cycle of poverty. And I want to introduce her to come on and give us a little background about their mission, their story, how she started this, because it's an incredible organization that she's put together. So, Ms. Alva, welcome to the Water Zone.
She left.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
She was connected.
She was connected. Dubai is a strange place where sometimes things get disconnected, I'm sure.
Yeah, I saw the phone number was a Chicago number, and she was connected for a few minutes. So
She was. She was here. She didn't make it through the break.
We did scare her. I don't know.
I mean, we might have.
I don't know. Maybe she'll join us in a minute. It happens.
It
This
does.
is radio. We've been having that for the last couple of weeks on some of the.
I know, right? We're pros now. Now it's like, let's just talk about water for the next half an hour. It'll be fine.
Yeah. So as our audience knows, Tara, you're with United Water District, and what do you guys got going?
So today, actually, a new story launched about us, which is fantastic. We're about to spill. We might spill. We have a Lake Piru Reservoir, which is created by the Santa Felicia Dam, and as part of that, there's a spillway in order to manage the level of the lake. And though we're releasing water downstream, we're getting a little bit more water from DWR from Lake Pyramid above than we're releasing at this moment in time. And so we may or may not. It's like kind of a who knows. It's inches. It's really kind of a fun pins and needles moment for the district, and we love watching that happen because of the pre-planning that went into place in order to ensure that we had time to kind of collect this water. Earlier in the year, we had done a conservation release, which means that we released quite a bit of water, lowering that lake level very, very far down in order to ensure that we could capture and divert that water and be ready for winter storms, which is exactly what happened. So everything really went according to plan, which was very exciting for us. So today we got the press coverage that reflects the story that we were really excited to share with our local community, and highlighting how really great dam maintenance and management and water supply management can work.
Hey, this is Shilpa, and I'm on. I'm sorry, I had lost connection. I was on through the whole first half, so apologize. I'm in Dubai right now.
I figured. So thank you very much for calling. We're really excited to have you on. I gave you a little introduction that you didn't hear, so I won't go through it because our guests.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Tell us a little about your mission. I just read the introduction of what you do, but how did I read the story on how you got into this, and that's a touching story, and I'm amazed at what you've done, and I don't know you personally, but I'm proud of what you did. You're an awesome person. Maybe give a little background to yourself and how you started all this, and when you were little too. So
thanks. Thank you. And again, I apologize. But here
no
I
problem.
am, and I started off in the corporate world. I'm a chemical engineer, and I worked at companies like EY and Ecolab. And, at a very young age, I was exposed to the global water and sanitation crisis. And those memories, stayed with me. And when I say I was experiencing it, it wasn't firsthand. I had water, grew up in a middle-class family, but I was exposed to communities where children were walking really long distances to collect water or were not attending school. And, mothers were... a lot of the things that you hear about and read about, right. I saw that when I was in college volunteering in India, in a little village in the foothills of the Himalayas, and those memories stayed with me. So later on in my life, when I was an adult and could, had the sort of the autonomy to make my own decisions, that was really a pull at wanting to do something about it. And back then, when I founded Search for Water, the internet wasn't what it was today. I didn't know how to get involved with an organization that was probably already doing the work. And I was like, how can I use my own network, right, professional and personal, to do something about it? And that's really how it started, right? Seeing a need and realizing that I might have a network that might, support a need in rural, remote communities around the world.
Wow. And so you do it in different countries. I read Uganda, Laos, some other places, and give us a little more in depth on what you do with those things and how you put the sanitation problems, how you put them away and show people how to educate themselves and so forth? Because you do a lot of things with that.
Yeah, thank you. So Surge has worked, so the organization Surge for Water, and we have worked in 12 countries to date. And we are currently active in Indonesia, Uganda, and Haiti. And our model is very much like community-owned, community-driven, and centers the women because the global water crisis disproportionately impacts women and girls, but we're least represented in advocating for our solutions. And, this is not just in, water scarce areas. This is like, across the world and even in big corporations, right? Like women play less of a role in the water industry, and it's no different in the places we work. So we try to bridge that gap. So in all of the countries we work in, they're large geographies, right, with significant populations. So our work is usually, well, not usually, actually, always in remote rural areas where we're typically the only international WASH NGO, so Water Sanitation Hygiene NGO, working in close partnership with a local grassroots organization, so an indigenous organization from that land. And we help them with their vision to bringing water and sanitation. And what that includes is it's really like product agnostic is what I'd like to say, because what we meet people where they're at. So in Indonesia, we work on an island called Sumba, right? And our partner there is YLRA. And with them, we're doing a lot of rainwater harvesting systems because it's a dry island. So we drill wells, but it's less than the rainwater that we're collecting. Or in Haiti, up in the mountains, we're collecting rainwater. In Uganda, we're mostly drilling and building like solar production wells. So really depends on what the issue is. And I'd also say, what are the technologies, right, that are sustainable in those communities? Like, can they maintain it locally after we're gone? Like, what are those skill levels? So we're very, very conscious of that piece too.
Wow. Karen?
So how does it feel kind of being at this level? I know, and I'm going to ask you the question I feel like most people hate, especially when they're a woman, but I know this has got to be a tricky thing to handle, especially in the countries that you're in. And I'm really in awe of what you're doing. And tell me what that's like and how you manage that, because I also kind of sometimes struggle with that in the water industry. I know it's not really common, but sometimes it happens, and that's, we live with that and we move on. But how do you deal with that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, I grew up, so like when you go back to like my corporate career too, like I grew up in the supply chain world, right? So I was in... Same,
actually. That's so funny.
Yeah. So I was in a corporate office. I wasn't on the production floor, but my job required me to be in the warehouses and, manufacturing plants quite often. So it was a man's world. So I think that prepared me, I really believe that all our life experiences, right? But you may not see it at the time, but like build you for the next phase and the next chapter. So I had that experience, right, which prepared me quite a bit. So I still remember like the early days when I would go into some of our communities, these rural communities, and pretty much all male government leaders, and just really like experiencing disrespect and certain things like that. And it's interesting now. If I go into any of the communities we work in, it's completely different. And I think what it came down to is Surge's model, right? Because we are not doing the work ourselves, and that's quite intentional because we don't belong to these communities, right? Who are the locals, and we want to give sort of them the agency or the pride and ownership. And we really, we do a lot of work to make sure this happens. So we're working through local partners from behind the scenes, but they know we're involved, the governments and the leaders there. And so also now when you're talking about the places we work in, you can see the results of the work. You can see the toilets that have been built in the schools and the health centers. You can see all the water systems, right? Our logos are co-branded with our local teams on those. So there's I'm entering the community in a different way, right? So you're respected. And we also, when we first started, we had nothing to show for ourselves, right? So there was disrespect even from that standpoint. And I believe that some of it was because of being a woman, but I can never know because this is the only way I would show up. yeah, so we've built the trust. And so now, because we have that trust, and now we also have the credibility. So if we, like right now, I was actually in Uganda last week. We were in some new communities, and the way we were welcomed in those communities was like, another level, because now maybe they've looked us up, right? What's the internet today? You have it everywhere in the world. So they're like looking at our work and like, oh, this is a legitimate organization. So again, I'm not sure how much of that is the woman aspect versus just being so many international NGOs that are out there and show up in communities and then don't deliver on their promises and their word, and kind of have also just screwed over people, right, over time. And so I think people are warranted, I guess, in some ways, to be a little bit skeptical. And yeah, it's hard, I guess, to know which part is the female aspect versus just being a new organization. Yeah.
No, I think there's been over the years these organizations that go get grants or raise money, and they come and most of it doesn't go to the places where it needs to go. It goes in people's pockets.
Yeah.
And I know we had communicated a couple of months ago. We were talking about Global Waterworks that's in Chicago, and you had mentioned who they are, and they're a faith-based system, and the same thing. When they started, it was hard to get people's attention, but I can assume from what I've read and learned about your organization that yes, you're very honest, and that's a good thing. But when you teach the education, that helps going from village to village to village, and that information gets passed on. So people then understand that they respect you and that you're a legitimate organization, and that's important, especially in third world countries, because a lot of people try to take advantage. You know what happens here in the U.S. I mean, we have a lot of fraud and things going on now. It's worse. I lived in India for a couple of years. We were doing business with some large corporations, and I would stay there 6 months at a time, come home for a month, and go back. And I stayed in Mumbai and Hyderabad and Delhi and Bombay, and it was different. It was different, and people looked at me different because I was an American and of origin, and it was a little different. But once you get the trust of the people, and I found, different from most people, I found most of the countries that I visited, probably about 35 to 40 different countries, I always felt safe to walk on the streets and talk to the people, because if we all cut our fingers and the blood comes out, and they trace it back to DNA, we're all related to each other, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
We all came from the same place, and that's, I ran companies overseas, and that was one of the things that I've always told the staff. I said, hey, you may be my 50th distinct cousin, but you're related to me, so why would I want to hurt you? And that's just the way I was raised and stuff. And once you find out how wonderful the people are and caring about it, I mean, I had instances where I was in places when the Gulf War broke out, and I had a deal. We were doing some. I won't go into my story, but just getting to have friendships with people, like in Kuwait and the people in India, and became very good friends with them, and I enjoy it. I enjoy their food. I enjoy the things. But you bring all of that to the village. You want them to be healthy. You want them to be healthy. You want them to have clean water. You talk about filters and how do you install these things, and you teach people, and hopefully those are progressing outward after you take care of that initially. And that touched me when I read your story about what you've done, and I really wanted to have you on the show. I'm thankful that you came on, and I appreciate it. What's the most satisfying thing that you get out of this, or that you've received over the years? Because you've been doing it quite a bit for a long time.
Yeah. So over a decade full time now. For initially, I did it nights and weekends with my corporate job. So it's right now a little over a decade. Uh-huh. And Rob, the way you just described the situation is the greatest joy. Like what you just described with your experience as being international and connecting with people as humans is what it's all about, right? Like when you think about it's you described it, and so here we are in rural communities, and what water is a basic human right, right? Like everyone needs it, and yes, we all bleed the same. So it's like we can connect with each other on that, and what happens once a community gets water, right? We can see that transformation. It's not just words on our website, right?
Right.
When a school has water, you can see the visible difference in the children, right? They look different. Their uniforms, and they're healthier because they're possibly growing food, and that's energetic joy. It's visual joy. There's the dancing. There's the singing. So that's one piece, right? It just is like at a community connection level. And then I'd say from the engineering mindset in me and like the analytical side, it's the other part that when you see a well that was drilled a decade ago still functioning, because it's hardware and it's going to break down, but the community by themselves were trained to fix it, and it keeps going, right? Like that's joy too, because then you know that the hard-earned funds that were donated to us, and a lot of work to raise it and to deliver that project, that's sustained, right? And that's what we continuously work on. And so the education programs that you brought up, and the work to make sure that the program is self-sustaining, and when that works, that's also like everybody wins, right? The community, us, our donors. And so that's quite joyful too.
Absolutely. I've seen so many. Our company has a grant that we give to go overseas to places like where you are, and help with the farmers and give them things with irrigation and water and things of that sort. And it's really rewarding. And it also goes back to the friendship that you make. When I was stationed in India, I was dealing with the government of India, so I was with the trade development person in charge of that, and we had a lunch appointment with Rajiv Gandhi, and who everybody in the world knows who that person was. And we go to lunch, and I'm sitting. They asked me to sit next to him, and I'm in awe because I'm just a common person. I'm a simple guy, and now I'm sitting somebody who's world famous, his family, everything, right? And so as we're eating, I'm kind of looking at him a lot, and he leans over. He says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He says, "Why are you looking at me a lot?" I go, "I'm sorry. I apologize. I never sat next to anybody as famous as you are, and I'm just in awe of being here." And he goes to his servant. He says, "Oh, we must have picture together." So he took a picture. They had a picture of me with him, and I have it on my office in my desk. And I'm very proud of that because I think the friendship that you get is unbelievable. And like I said, I've seen a lot of companies go to third world countries, and they give them all this stuff, but they don't tell them how to fix anything. And if it breaks, they're no longer there. But I've seen ingenuity from the people who really want to learn and take over the business and start something, that you give them and make that happen. And that to me is awesome. And I'm in awe with what you do, and I respect your organization. I think it's wonderful. We need more people like you to do that.
Well, and the empowerment message that you have really speaks to me, because to me, creating that empowerment is what I feel like drives that long-lasting change, and like really makes them own their own kind of stuff. And when you own your own thing, then you continue that moving forward. And so what do you have any examples of like where that's really been effective?
Yeah, so every time we well, first of all, I mean, the greatest example of our model is that it's not Surge Uganda, Surge Indonesia, right? We have partners in every country, and they're standalone, right? So that in itself is the I guess the description or the embodiment of our model. But when you get down to like just say a water well or a borehole, every infrastructure has a co-payment from the community, so that it's not just charity. And it's a small thing, right? It's like they're doing bricks or labor, and it's like, 10% or under of the cost. But that's so important, because in the end, like when you put the plaques on, you may put a donor name on, it's always like in partnership with the name of the community. And that gives them so much pride, and also co-ownership, co-creation, co-ownership. And they don't feel like, they just got handouts, because everybody, they're humans everywhere. And like you want to feel a certain way and feel dignity. And then going further from that, like we retrain water service committee, water and sanitation committees, right? Like that are responsible for the upkeep of their wells, and like they're provided the tools and like resources to be able to maintain it. And we see that working all the time. And then most recently, in my very last trip to Uganda, just last week, we met with an organization that's training pump technicians in very rural areas and helping them even create little businesses. So youth, young people, and Uganda is a country where more than, I think, 75% of the population is under the age of 35, right? So training young people on creating their own businesses to go fix water sources. So we're trying to learn from that program and integrate it in ours. So again, constantly learning, even though what we're doing is working, there are gaps. And so how do we keep improving the self-sustaining environment and investing in programs that may not even be ours, other people's programs that, we can support and then integrate into our existing programming. So it's so much has worked and so much more can be done to continue to improve all these broken infrastructure pieces that are all over the world.
Well, strange question I'm going to ask you. So if in one of these countries, the president or the person in charge, calls you into his office and says, I'm going to make you the water czar of this country. What would you think, or let's talk about the world. What do you think is the top 3 issues that the world has to deal with water?
God, I don't think there's enough funding that's going to the right places. That's probably what I would say, because the solutions are there, right? There's so much brilliance. Like even just your previous guest was talking about, some of these great innovations.
Right.
So we have the ideas, right? Like what if we took that and you put it where, you invested where, in the right way and on the right things. Like I don't know if I'm going off on a slight tangent. I don't go into 3 things, but it's like even this one thing, right? We're looking at life on another planet or moving to another planet when we have this beautiful home of Mother Earth and resources are not, distributed in a way where, basically we're leaving people behind, and that's not okay. And so for me, it's invest the funds in the technologies that are out there and make them more mainstream so that you can, exactly what your last guest was talking about, so they can be scaled up, right? And be made in a way that it's affordable to places. And then when you do that, don't leave behind people that are living on the fringes of society, because there's, hundreds of millions of them, of us, not even that, this is humanity and it's a shared humanity. So I'd say a combination of those two. And then maybe the third piece is with anything, don't solve the issues without the people closest to the issue, because that's wrong, right? We have to incorporate the people experiencing the challenges in the design of the solution. And I think it's a big miss especially in the work I'm doing, right? Because this is we're still in a very low technology such environment. But you can't solve problems with just coming in and dropping them into places.
Right.
So a combination of all those 3 will solve the global water crisis.
Well, that's good advice. Tara?
Yeah, so one last question from me. What's the best way to get involved and to make a difference in this space? I mean, I feel like it's really inspiring, and people are probably listening and going, okay, so how can I help?
Yeah, I always say start locally, right? If wherever you live, it's the United States, what does your local watershed look like? Your situation, are there things that you can do in your own personal choices in your daily life and habits, your consumer patterns? So, always start there, because I think it has to start from within to go outwards. And then, realizing that we're not alone and that we don't want to leave anybody behind. What does that look like, right? Can you get involved in an organization like ours? And of course, right, donations are the things that go furthest. But we also, we're primarily very, very small, lean teams. So we need board members. We need skills-based volunteers, right? And it's not just us. Other organizations are going to be very similar to us. And so there is a way to get involved.
Could you give us an email so our listeners can follow up with that, or a website?
It's Surge, SURGE, for water, FOR, water.org. So surgeforwater.org. And you can reach out to me directly too. My information's on the website. So
Excellent.
I would, love to talk to anybody interested in getting involved in solving this issue. We need everyone. We need all the hands possible.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I'm going to send you an email with some information about other companies that could be interested in investing. And I do thank you very much, and I'm glad you called in from far away. I appreciate that very much. So thank you again for being on the show. We got to turn it over to NBC for their news hour. They gave us 2 extra minutes, so I appreciate that. So thank you very much, Ms. Alva. We appreciate it.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by